Everybody, welcome back to Ox Talks. Someone shoot me a comment. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me okay. It's Saturday, August 10th, 2024. And I thought it would be just a good time to come on and discuss food preps. News cycle is a little bit slow today. Okay, hello. Hi, Ben. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for being here. I thought it'd be a good time to come on just discuss what I do for emergency food supplies and preparations. And we get caught up a lot in the news cycle, and hey, Marco, the just what's happening every single day with the markets. But we don't want to lose sight. I'm from Texas. We don't want to lose sight of the preparations, right? I know that you guys aren't. I'm not either. A lot of the stuff I've discussed before, once you have made the preparations, uh, CD Weber from Texas, hello. Once you've made the preparations, you do have to do some rotation for canned goods and such. Some of the food storage that I have will go through is longer term, a number 10 canned stuff, 5-gallon buckets. Once you have that, you check it periodically, but it's done. Okay, Michael Turner. Um, so I just wanted to come on, kick this around. I welcome everybody's input in terms of what you guys are doing, what you think. I don't think there's a right or wrong way per se to do this. There are lots of different approaches depending on your circumstances. So, for example, if you guys stock market going back up to 40K. Well, the stock market seemed to be digging out a bit last week. Again, you've got talking heads coming out and trying to talk it back up. That was a pretty big sell off. The market probably, guys, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but it's going to, in probably the medium term, longer term, certainly always goes up. But it has periods of time where it comes down substantially. And if you're on the wrong side of that, sometimes it takes 10 years or more for the market to come back. So as long as everyone understands that, they know the game, it's a rigged game. It is a rigged game. Anybody who thinks that there's fair market value right now could be determined from the old style metrics of stock valuations, I think is smoking something, right? But if you guys understand it and you can play it, understand it's a bit of a casino, there's money to be made. Okay. So I'm definitely not anti-market. Rotating the food you actually eat is the biggest challenge. Pistol Pete, Minnesota. Hi, Minnesota. Hi, Pistol Pete. Good to see you. So we're gonna go through this stuff. I don't know how long we'll be here. If you guys get bored, you can tune out, tune back in. I just wanted to diverge from the regular news stuff and economics, and hopefully this is helpful. But again, getting back to circumstances. If you live on a farm, if you have the ability to have chickens and have eggs and have meat and poultry, hi Shell, you made it. Hi, I didn't know if you were going to based upon your comment yesterday. But if you're able to have that stuff, right, and you're able to grow your own vegetables, um, you know, yes, you got to stock up for your pets as well. We'll discuss that. But good point. If you're able to have all those things, that's phenomenal, right? But a lot of people don't. And for one, I live in Southern California. I live in a very, very hot climate. Not much stuff wants to grow in this climate. I don't have the ability to have chickens at my property. Yes, we have property here, but we're in a community, and so it's very, very restricted. So the stuff I'm going to go through, Idaho Garden Girl, hello, hi, thanks for being here. I'm going to go through what I do. And so, you guys, the ones who want to criticize, I'm not saying this is a one size fits all. Again, I have to work within my restrictions, limitations, and parameters. Okay, so everyone has different circumstances. Those that have farms, again, more power to you, right? Those that have a water well on their property, more power to you. I don't have that good fortune. Hi, Desiree. to have that. So I have to think about water supplies, storing on property, and then avenues to obviously replenish those water supplies. And depending on where you're at, it's very limited. Now, I don't live in downtown Los Angeles. I don't live in a big city per se, but I'm definitely not in a rural situation. So let me cover with you guys how I do it. Okay. And I know, get out of California, I understand that. Sir, the Craftsman, Uncle Matt, good to see you and everyone in the chat. Yeah, there with some limitations. Obviously, major limitations here from a political perspective. I get that. Even from a business ownership perspective, taxation, you're all correct. Having high school and college age kids and having a business here right now, it's not practical to just pick up and leave. A lot of people will say, "Well, you just have to make your mind up and just do it." It's easier said than done. Okay, it's hard to be remote to represent clients. They want you here, and so until I find a way to transition that completely out, and trust me, I'm working on it. Even Chevron's leaving. Yeah, if Chevron pulls out, there's big problems. But I get it. A lot of businesses have left and are continuing to leave California. So don't get me sidetracked on that. I recognize the problems with the state. I recognize the weaknesses and the limitations it places on you business wise, and even from this perspective, from the ability to have a level of preparations that you want to. There are rural areas, obviously, in the Central Coast and such, a lot of farming where everyone has this ability. Let me start with telling you where I'm coming from, and you guys please weigh and let me know what you're doing. Stock up on canned salmon and tuna and water. We're going to discuss that where we talk about this kind of stuff, right? We talk about, this is, albacore tuna. We have canned chicken. So let me kind of go through my notes here. I think of this in terms of layers. So meaning, depending on what kind of situation that you think you're confronting. Are you looking at a storm where you're looking at maybe a power outage for 2-3 days? Or are you looking at, in California, for example, let's say we had a major earthquake where we had potential supply chain disruptions and a longer term situation, maybe 2-3 weeks, something like that. So you're going to shift gears from my perspective through various layers of your supplies. You wouldn't, for example, from my perspective, dig into a 5-gallon bucket of beans or rice if you're going to be potentially just a few days without power. That wouldn't make much sense. Yep, the beans, obviously, we've got that kind of stuff here, guys. We'll talk about that. So let me start first by saying, from my perspective, the first thing you would do is you would work through your immediate, let's say, refrigerated food, things that you have every day in your refrigerator, your pantry, certainly items that are perishable. You would be consuming those things probably. Hi, Ron. Hi, Recon Pro. Things that you would work through that are perishable. And it will, after a few days, if there's a power down situation. Now, a lot of you probably have backup power. Hopefully, you've considered generators of some sort. I do have a generator. I do have a solar generator system as well. It's not going to run my house. It's not something that big. I don't have a Tesla wall sitting here. I know folks that do. But that's not where I'm at. But I've got enough where I can keep a couple of freezers going for indefinitely. So things like that. But you want to think about it. If you don't have that capability and your refrigerator's power goes down, your food is going to start to, obviously, your freezers are everything's going to melt in the freezer and warm up. Your stuff in the refrigerator is going to start to perish after a certain number of days. So from my perspective, you would get smaller chest freezer. Absolutely. I do have one of those. And every time we go to the store, I have my wife get a little bit of extra meat and we stock that in there. But you're going to have, if it's temporary, you're going to work through those things first. It's going to be as is, and you're going to work through that food, stuff in the pantry, stuff in the refrigerator, and of course, meat that if it's going to go bad, you want to think about cooking it. I wasn't going to discuss cooking methods today. That's a whole other show, and we'll get into that. There's a lot of other ways that you need to think about be able to cook. Obviously, if the power goes down, if you have electric stove, something like that. So we'll cover that on a separate. It's a separate topic, separate show. So I think obviously first, guys, you're going to be working through your perishable food items. I also have categories I think about. I organize my food preps in terms of fats, in terms of carbohydrates, grains, and in terms of proteins. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. You guys can tell me if you think I'm doing it right or wrong, or what you do. Again, I think there are different ways, kind of to skin the cat, so to speak. Hopefully, you're not having to skin the cat. But again, I break it down in terms of working through perishable things, and then working in terms of categories. You've got to maintain a certain level of fats, proteins, carbohydrates in your diet. Now, I break down, everyone's different. I break down my food preparations, my emergency food, in terms of calories, calories per day per person. So I figure 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day per person. We have 4 in my family. You might probably want to think about working in some extra if you have a friend or a parent or relative that needs to be there as well. But you've got to, from my perspective, that's the only way, from the way I look at it, to adequately quantify what you need for so much period of time. It's easy to say 2,000 calories per day, per family member, and then you start say per day, per week, per month, and you have to have, everyone's got their own parameters as to how much backup, how much supplies they want to have on hand. I will tell you this: I shoot for 1 year. Now, maybe some would say that's not nearly enough time. Some might say that's overkill. You're a doom and gloomer. You're just out of control prepper. I just think about, I've always geared it towards a year for the family. If there is a major grid down, if there's an EMP, if there's something, a year from my perspective is just not overkill. Let me know what you guys think. If you think that's crazy. By Carolyn Dahl, we diversify, some frozen, mostly canned, and dried foods plus freeze dried. You need backup for backups. You need backup for backups too, as well, for sure. Um, So let me start by, I think I covered just working through perishables. Everyone's going to do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Because things that are going to go bad immediately, it would be wasted if you didn't use it. So use it. Okay. Let's talk about then kind of what I think about. And that would be kind of like my level one, if you will, or tier one. All right. Second level would be, and obviously you're going to use smaller items before bigger. I discussed that. You're going to, of course, make sure you're using the proteins and meats that you don't have the ability to salvage, because it will go bad if it warms up, obviously, right? If it's not frozen or at least refrigerated for some period of time. Consider some kind of generator, solar generator, or other type of generator system to keep at least a refrigerator running, like we heard in the comments before, for some period of time. Okay, most things, guys, whether it's a storm in your area, maybe it's a tornado, most things, are probably not going to last longer than a week or 2 weeks. If it gets beyond 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's probably something more serious, and that's why these next layers we'll talk about will start coming into play. Can you guys, I'm assuming you can hear me okay. I'm on the webcam here with that microphone. Buy good, high quality food. The answer to that is yes. I agree with that, yes and no. When you start looking at this kind of stuff, I don't consider this high quality food, but I consider it fat, calories, carbohydrates. I don't consider this high quality food, okay? But I consider it fats, and I consider it proteins and calories. So, from my perspective, and you guys know I talk about diet all the time on this show, and I'm a big proponent of healthy eating, clean diet. But all I can say is, when there's an emergency, it's not always possible to have. For example, we'll talk about the protein. When you guys start talking about keeping freeze dried protein, like real protein, not TVP, textured vegetable protein, it is extremely, extremely expensive to buy and to maintain and store this stuff. So you have to consider what are your sources of protein and how much you're going to invest in stockpiling. Okay. Uh, yeah, too much. Yeah, you guys, the people think they're going to just have rice and beans, pinto beans, and rice. Um, Probably is not going to get it done. It's not going to be nutritional enough. And again, I'm not a nutritionist. Any of you guys that are, certainly weigh in and let me know. Canned salmon, canned chicken, canned, like I just showed you guys, this albacore, canned albacore too. This stuff, look, it lasts a long time, and that is a good way to supplement the protein when you run out of refrigerated meats. Okay. And then beyond that, we'll talk about number 10 cans and what you can do with that. So once you get into this next level, I would say, and let's say you've gone through, I'm looking at my phone for some notes I made. You've gone through, let's say your perishable food, your refrigerator's now pretty much depleted. The pantry, everyday stuff, bread, stuff like that is depleted. What would that be? That'd be a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. It depends on your situation. Then you guys are going to start breaking into, or I will be, what I would consider my canned goods, things that again I would not normally eat in my daily diet. I don't eat pork and beans. I don't eat the Chef Boyardee raviolis. I don't eat corned beef. I don't eat Vienna sausage, things like this. But I have it in my canned goods because the source of fat, it's a source of calories, it's a source of carbohydrates and proteins, and it does store for a relatively long period of time. Now let's talk about canned expiration dates. Again, everyone's got to do their own homework, water as well, for sure. Learn to make tortillas. Okay, I like that. Idaho Garden Girl. I'm sorry if I'm missing some of your comments. Andrew H. I sold all my gold. Okay. All right. Good luck on that. I hope it works out for you. What did you buy? Did you go to cash or did you buy the falling knife stock market? Uh, so again, it's not necessarily the healthiest stuff, the canned goods. Talk about how long the stuff lasts. I've always been told and gone by the rule of thumb: if the can obviously is damaged, if it's dented, if it's bulging in any way, obviously it's got to go. Don't touch it. But the smell test goes a long way. The visual test, guys. When you open a can of food, this one, those might last a little less time, right? But when you open something like this where it's sealed, okay, maybe that lasts longer. They have expiration dates on these things, okay? But what I've always learned and read is that you don't need to be as worried about the expiration date. You should be rotating this stuff. For me, I don't eat it, so rotating it means I'm donating it. I don't eat it and work through it and restock it. I'll just go donate it and then buy new stuff. But I have a lot of canned stuff that's beyond the expiration date. I wouldn't say many years beyond it, but certainly beyond it. So when you open a can, if it smells bad, if it looks bad, obviously you're not going to want to touch it. Okay. And there's major health risks if you get involved in something like that. I'm not a doctor. You guys can look it up for yourself. But I keep stuff beyond expiration dates. I don't wholesale go through and throw stuff out as soon as the can says it expires. Okay. Certainly not the canned tunas, things like that, canned chickens. Okay. Or canned chicken. So you're going to work through, from my perspective, next your canned goods, if you will. Falling knife stock market. Andrew, do you think gold is going to go down in value? Is that why you sold it? That's from falling. That's from repent and believe in Jesus Christ. I bought it 1,000, sold for 2,300. Look, let's just diverge a bit. There's a time everybody can, if they want to take profits, go to cash. I mean, there's no doubt gold is still close to an all-time high. I for one, will be selling some of that stockpile as real estate starts to come down. I've shared that with you guys in the past, and shift into other assets that are going to fall. Okay, so there'll be a time, I think, would you sell your whole position? I personally would not. But there'll be a time where you can go in and out of assets, I believe, including the metals. Okay, so anybody who says I'm never going to sell my gold or all of it or any of it, any of it, that's their perspective. But I'm not so sure that would be the right approach from my perspective. Idaho Garden Girl. When you shop for canned goods, check the best buy date. Get the cans that have a date 2+ years in the future. Okay. Good advice. I appreciate that. Pistol Pete, I bought gold minutes after Schwab blocked me on Monday. I tell you, that was a wake up call, right? And my buddy mine who has his 401k, all of it invested through the market through Schwab, he had the same issue. So I think somebody else commented that there was another brokerage house they couldn't get into. So yeah, I would imagine that's a wake up call, right? It's digits on a screen. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. I know that gets cliche, but if you don't have some cash, you don't have some other physical, tangible assets, and you can't access your funds, it's the same thing with your bank accounts, guys. It's going to be the same issue. Okay. Now let's talk about next layer. Okay. And by the way, I am pretty, you know, organized with the way, and I keep a list of things I have, and I started with canned goods, and as I rotate canned goods, I move it in and out of the list, and I organize it calories per can and total calories. Okay, so I have a list of what I have canned goods, how many I have in the stock, and then how much calories per can and total calories. So I know, for example, I have so many 100,000 calories in cans. That's in this case 15 days, 8,000 calories a day. So I know I'm looking at about 2 weeks, give or take, for my family of just canned goods. On let's say in the stockpile. And again, that's after you work through. Yeah, keeping a list, Desiree, it's a pain. But I mean, I update it like every 6 months. I'll go into my computer, I'll update it, run through it. Yeah, it's a pain, but you know what you have at all times. Okay. And so let's say in my case, I'm sitting on a couple of weeks of canned goods for the family, which I wouldn't even touch until after we have worked through all of our refrigerated food, perishable food, things of that nature. Okay, let's talk about the next layer, if you will. Once you guys have, or from my perspective, once I have consumed all the perishable food per se, and I run through the canned goods. Again, from my perspective, that's going to be my personal situation. That's going to be probably 3 weeks to maybe 3 weeks or so, maybe a month. That's a long time. So literally, if we're without power or without services or without supply chain restocking for long, there's a big problem. Okay. But let's say it happens. Then we start to go into, from my perspective, again, with my limitations here in Southern California, living in a planned community without chickens, without, extensive garden, without, water well, then I'm going to be moving into what I refer to as the number 10 cans. Then lots of companies have these. I have not been one to buy into the prepper buckets and things like that of the Wise food. Some friends of mine have, and I've looked at the calories and the calories per serving and the breakdown of fats. Again, as a non-expert, Mama Deb, brown rice is a shorter shelf life than white rice. I've heard that. I appreciate your money, everybody. I've heard that brown rice has a shorter shelf life than white. I personally have the white rice in the 5-gallon buckets. But so then I'm going to be looking at layer 3. All right, layer 3 after perishable goods, refrigerated stuff, and then just the basic canned stuff. Looking at maybe level 3, and that would be the number 10 cans. And again, I have chosen not to go with Wise and things like that. I think some of it, I haven't researched it in depth. I just have a certain approach, and I have gone with the Augus and Farms foods. You guys can all weigh in or let me know, what you think about that company. I started acquiring this stuff back many, many years ago. And I will tell you, it was much more readily available. Walmart.com. Let me see the condition of storage food, including that's true. Renee says, Matt, keep in mind that if power goes off in hot places like here in Florida, conditions to storage food, including canned goods, will accelerate the process of product decaying. I think that's true. Augustine, yeah, it's good. I think that's true. So my perspective, the backup there is you should, if you can, have a way that you can air condition and keep cool a storage room in your house. How you can do that through use of a generator, an in-wall air conditioner hooked up to a generator, solar power backup, whatever it is. You've got to try to keep at least one room or one area in your your place where you can not only sleep if you're in a very hot climate, or a very cold climate, but you can keep it climate controlled, but also to protect the food. Okay. So Augustin Farms, these are what I call number 10 cans. This is creamy wheat cereal. It always says on the front how many servings. Gives you the breakdown in the back of calories per serving. I look for stuff, guys, that has a lot of servings per container and maximum calories. Is that going to be the healthiest stuff that you can get? No. But if you buy a bunch of number 10 cans of dehydrated beans, sorry, but you're not going to live very long eating that kind of stuff. So you've got to think about it. And I'll read through my list in a second, because the number 10 cans, I would say, is the bulk of my stockpile in terms of what I put in for diversification. I know, Garden Girl, perfect. Yeah, cool basement for sure if you have that. But anyway, these Augustin Farms number 10 cans, I used Walmart.com. I always have. As of recent, once in a while, I'll go on and I'll check availability and pricing. I did a show with Jeremiah Babe probably 2 years ago on his channel where we were talking about prices number 10 cans. I had gone back and this was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, before prices of food really started going up. And I was comparing what I had paid for some of these number 10 cans with what they were going for at the time. And mind you, this is about 18 months, 2 years ago. And it had gone up substantially, and the availability of this stuff was very slim. During COVID, these number 10 cans, Augustin Farm, they used to have 15 pages you could flip through of buckets of number 10 cans of anything you wanted, TVP, any kind of rice, beans, soups, all that kind of stuff, juices, powdered milk. And it literally was non-existent, right? Because there was a big panic. So you had certain periods of time where you can't get this stuff. It's like anything else, guys. When something happens, an event, whether it's localized to your community or it's countrywide, whatever it is, you won't be able to get this stuff. It's the same as ammunition and your security, anything that you're going to need, antibiotics, medicines. We talk about it. It doesn't just go for food. Anything, if you try to get it a second after, good luck. There's going to be a rush to find this stuff, and if you can get it, it's going to be, it's going to be priced, off the charts. So I have a lot of number 10 cans, and I break them down in my list by, again, same as with the other stuff, guys. Shielded Prepper, we just relocated our food storage this morning. Shielded Prepper, hi Jesse, how are you? Good to see you. We have to talk. I'd love to hear about that and let me know, what you're doing. You and I have actually not discussed that in the past. Talked about lots of other stuff and real estate and business, but not that. Love to hear what you're doing as well. So number 10 cans. Again, I have it listed on my here where I go through. I have cheese blend powder, butter powder, pancakes, milk powdered chocolate, orange drink, okay, vegetable soup, creamy wheat cereal, blueberry muffin mix. I have probably 40 different things I have here of number 10 cans. Southwest chili mix. For example, a Southwest chili mix, this stuff is, it's got 34 servings and 160 calories per can. It's got a very, very great balance of, carbs and fats and proteins. So I keep how many calories of that particular line item I have on hand. When you get down to the bottom of my list on number 10 cans, I have a total of how many calories I have in number 10 can holdings, and that breaks down to so many days at 8,000 calories a day, 4 of us in the family. Christopher and Darius, the end of the world. I don't think so, not yet. Hopefully not. But if you guys are paying attention to what's happening over in Russia, and I saw today there was another bombing of a school or something in Israel, or Israel had bombed a refuge facility or something, a refugee facility. So we've got a lot going on, guys. Shielded Prepper. Remember, you're not just preparing for your family, prepare for others too. That's true. You have to start with a baseline with the family, and like I said a few minutes ago, is you should consider having something on stock for some others. Again, some of you might or might not be limited by space, by financial resources. So you have to start with obviously covering your family And it makes sense, as with the animals, you got to have stuff set aside for your dogs and your cats and your animals. Okay. This is Ironside. All of my family who is jabbed and boosted are coming down with new variant. We're getting on to, and they don't prep. It's going across the country. California is getting hit, by the way, with this new whatever latest and greatest strain. I haven't heard anything major that it's most people. That's the problem. Most people now are just going to work, doing what they do on a regular basis, and kind of just ignoring it. But yeah, I tell friends all the time to prepare, and they laugh at me. I have three good friends that live pretty close to me, and they have zero put away. So anyway, I do. And again, once this number 10 cans, the shelf life on this stuff, again, assuming you store it relatively properly, you can't let it get really warm, but it lasts a long time. You guys to do your research, multiple years. Okay. So unlike this kind of stuff, it's not going to have that kind of a shelf life. The number 10 cans, not only are they the third layer kind of in my categories, but they also last longer. So you're going to go through, obviously, go into things that have a shorter shelf life that you're going to want to be using sooner than other stuff, obviously. But look, number 10 cans can be opened up to supplement. You could pop a number 10 can, if you're running with some canned goods as well. So, for example, I have some juice powder. If you have kids in the family, we've got some powdered milk, some chocolate milk, something that tastes good. You could open something like that, obviously for morale and just for stuff in the family. So the number 10 cans could be accessed and blended in a little earlier if you have enough stockpiled. Okay, so consider that. Augus Farms is definitely not the only company that does it. I do know it. I've tasted it. It's pretty darn good. Are you going to say it's high quality? Again, you guys can comment. Shielded Prepper. We've been using a lot of our food storage soups, number 10 cans, to rotate for freshness and to cut our food budget. Backfilling is important. Good input. Yeah, buttermilk, eggs. I'll talk about powdered eggs in a second. So my third layer is the number 10 cans from Augusten. And if you guys want to check it out, I don't have any links or anything. I don't have any affiliate stuff, but I've purchased mine over the years from Walmart.com. They used to have really good selection. I don't know now if they do or not. Yeah, use a dehydrator. Miss Ironside says, look, some of you are probably canning. Some of you are dehydrating food. Some of you guys are doing all this kind of stuff, which I think is awesome. I am not doing that. Again, many of you that have a farm or have access to, to some of the gardens, things like that, are probably making use of those approaches, and that's fantastic because it's also renewable, right? It's self-sustaining. And so I'm envious of you guys around the country and other parts of the world that have those capabilities. I'm a little bit limited. So here we go. CD Weber, number 10 cans have a 10 to 25-year shelf life. Some of those things, you're right. Some of the things like the eggs, the powdered eggs, have a little bit less of a short life. And some of the other stuff like the cereals and things, you're right. They have 25-year shelf life as much as, let's say, a Mylar bucket full of rice or beans, okay? Andrew H. How long do frozen steaks last? I don't. Shielded Prepper, buy what you eat. Yeah, buy what you eat for sure. I don't think frozen steaks. I mean, I guess they could be freezer, but I think it depends on how you store them. Were they just tossed in there in the packaging you bought them from the store, or were they actually, did you actually seal them and do them properly with a food sealing? It depends on how they were put in the freezer, but I don't think there's any per se a shelf life on a frozen piece of meat. Let me know what you guys think. LG Kitten, I love canning. Warning signs. It's very important that you get my post, Aux. We have a way to take our Republic back. You will understand. Okay. You guys can send emails too. I think I've got my email. I'm going to do a better job of checking the email. I do have my an email, a Yahoo email account that I set up just for this channel. You guys can reach out to me and feel free to do that. The email is somewhere posted in the channel in the description or something like that. So go ahead and if you guys want to reach out, please feel free. Homemade jerky for sure. So number 10 cans. I have it broken down. I have a lot of calories. Let's talk about fats. You guys won't be able to, again, I'm not a nutritionist or an expert, but I also stock and freeze fats. You got to have, from my perspective, level of fat in the diet. You're not going to get, you're working through number 10 cans of rice and beans. Okay. So I, for example, will freeze all, and starting to melt, I will freeze olive oil. Okay, I got a freezer full of olive oil, and also, guys, consider coconut oil. Okay, that's another a really good source of fat. Even if you take a little dollop of this stuff and toss it in with the other things you're making. Okay, so consider the fats. Look at that and how you've got to mix in fats into some of this. Obviously, you wouldn't be mixing fats into a can of pork and beans. But when you start looking at number 10 cans and certainly buckets of food that you guys have got, you've got to have some kind of a mix. So, again, I have my fats broken down. And it's by teaspoon, tablespoon servings per calorie. And so I know exactly, how many calories of fats I have per day and for how many days. Yeah, you could the olive oil. I read it. It lasts a long time. So we have a separate freezer. We have a meat freezer, and then we also have a separate freezer that I just stock some of this stuff, the olive oil, because olive oil, as I understand, is very sensitive to heat and also to light, and also temperature. So we keep it frozen, and I understand that once it unfreezes, it goes back to original constitution. You're good to go. If someone else knows better, let me know. But that's what I had learned many, many years ago. Proteins, we talked about proteins. So I'm kind of going between my levels and my categories here, jumping around a bit. Breezeway, welcome, appreciate you. So proteins as well. We talk about the cans of stuff, the cans of tuna, cans of chicken. I stock all that stuff, cans of fish, stuff like that. Even stuff like this, guys, on a shorter term basis, is corned beef, the Vienna sausage. I also think consider the DAC hams. You can get those. I think it's 1 pound DAC hams. I got a couple 5-gallon buckets. They each hold about 30 or 40 of those DAC hams. They last. Sheila Prepper, do you keep your food storage in one location or do you have any stored in other locations? Well, put it this way. I think it definitely makes sense to have food stored in more than one location. I know some people that actually have storage units, air conditioned units that spread their food in different locations. So you guys obviously OPSEC, everyone's got their own approach to sharing stuff, but consider that as well, right? And also, what happens if you have an emergency at your house? You have a fire, you have a flood, something like that. Those are all important things to consider about location. That goes with everything, right? Not just food, but how about your security, things like that. Does Allure have a new YouTube channel? I don't know what that means. Store in several locations. This is Ironside. CD Weber, I bought Augus Farms number 10 cans from Amazon. Okay. All right. Check out Amazon. I didn't even know that was a resource. Christopher Endura, hey, I didn't think about that. But Amazon, if maybe they are a great source as well. You can price compare between Amazon and Walmart.com. So after we talk about proteins, the canned proteins, obviously your perishable proteins, if you have a freezer where you can have steaks and such, I think that's great. You also get to a point where if you run out of let's say the high quality proteins, you guys might want to give some consideration to this kind of stuff. And this is TVP, a textured vegetable protein. And look is it as good as a steak? Heck no. But it has your grams of protein, and it is something that you want to consider. It's a lot less expensive to stock this stuff, and you can get chicken, you can get beef, you can get pork TVP, you can get different flavored taco flavored TVP to mix in, let's say, with some rice, with some beans, if you're in your number 10 or your buckets, things of that nature. So consider that as well for your source of protein. TVP, textured vegetable protein. Talked about the DAC hams. I've got a couple 5-gallon buckets of just DAC hams. They last a long time. Is it stuff I would eat on a daily basis? Hell no. So I know what Jesse's saying about buy what you will eat. we're gonna have to understand though at some point, guys. I think that's true to some extent, but you have to understand that when things change, everyone's got to recognize that circumstances, depending on how long we're down for and how dire the situation is, I have to recognize that there will be a reality check and a new reality will set in. Okay. And I'm telling you, if you have to eat this kind of stuff or TVP, or if I got to choke down this kind of corned beef or whatever, stuff that I would not eat on a regular basis, I wouldn't even look at it. You know what? I'm probably going to be very, very happy that I at least have that on my plate as opposed to having nothing, right? And a lot of people that don't think this stuff through ahead of time are going to be in that category, unfortunately. And again, you guys better have security to protect your stuff, right? Whatever it is, you better think about that and decide, how you're going to basically, make parameters and salt. You got it. Good point. I've got a couple 5-gallon buckets, at least I believe, of just salt. Salt you got to have, sugar you got to have. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm getting a little bit off topic, but also, guys, think about honey. Stuff lasts a long time. Okay, and it can be used to obviously to sweeten things, so sweeten cereals, drinks, things of that nature. So salt, got to have that for sure. It's not that expensive. Obviously, it's a little, yeah, it beats starving. I agree, Wayne. Uh, it's a little bit heavy, but have some salt on hand. Got to have salt in the diet for sure, especially if we're doing more manual labor, doing whatever we're doing, right? Filling sandbags, working, security, stuff like that. You got to have salt in the diet. The other orange, run your generator from a Faraday cage with a good ground. Yep, good perspective. Sugar and molasses, exactly. Have molasses also, guy. Molasses lasts forever. Okay. So once we get, I don't want to go too long here today, but let's go to the next level. Once we get past, from my perspective, number 10 cans, then what are you looking at? You're looking at probably some larger type stuff like the 5-gallon buckets. Now, some of the 5-gallon buckets I call them all 5-gallon buckets. Some you can buy through like Augus and Farms, okay? And you can get those. And I'll hold up a couple of them. For example, this one is Augus and Farms. This is dried whole egg powder, okay? So that's Augus and Farms. Now I know a buddy of mine said he went on and checked this the other day, and he told me the cost, and it was just outrageous. It's 11 pounds. It says it's 383 servings. What you do? Oh, by the way, Augus and Farms, guys, it's easy because you simply add water to it. You don't. That's one of the cornerstones. It's easy. You need to think about your water availability and water supplies, but you add water to this stuff. That's it. Okay, so you need to have a heat source, a cooking source, and water for the number 10 cans and all this stuff. So of course, 383 servings, and its shelf life is 10 years on this stuff. Okay, and it says ingredients: whole eggs, sodium. That's it. Okay, it talks about one egg, what the amount of powder yields, how many eggs, 1 egg, 6 eggs, 12 eggs, and what the serving size is. So I look for things that have lots of servings. Normally you get the most bang for your buck, and you've got to have some of this stuff. Powdered eggs taste terrible. You have to get used to eating them. Yeah, well, if you've ever had to go to certain buffets, they're using powdered eggs. They're not like having your regular eggs, but again, you're going to be looking at survival mode. There'll be a lot of other things on your mind, like staying alive, probably, and I'm not beating up on George. I know what you're saying for sure, but we're not going to be in the same reality, guys, if something is unfolding that's longer than just a few days or a couple of weeks. All right, so we're going to have a mindset shift. It's going to be hard, probably, to get family and younger ones to make that shift with you. But you guys, someone got to be, and hopefully your family is on board. You're educating them that it's not going to be just regular 9 to 5 or regular days. The routines are going to change. What's important is going to change. Staying alive, right? and how we're going to do that. So that's what this is about. Powdered eggs are great for baking, according to C.D. Weber. Okay, so that's one of the buckets. The other bucket I brought to show you is not obviously all of one here. The other one is vegetable stew blend. Okay, the vegetable stew blend I've got here. This says it's 236 servings in this thing, and you just add water. Shelf life is 25 years. All right, so and you just add water to it. What you do with this, you can add some rice to it. You could add some beans to it. You could add some TVP to it, and you've got a meal, right? So that's kind of my thought process with some of the larger buckets of stuff, and even the number 10 cans. Sorry, I'm Breezeway. Thanks for sharing. Canned smoked salmon is delicious. No interest in prepping, but would love to learn canning. Okay. Yeah, I tell you guys, honey never expires. Yep, honey is phenomenal. I don't I don't like doing this stuff. It's I've been probably in earnest looking at prep stuff and actually doing it probably since about 2012. Is it fun? No. Is putting together this kind of a list, this kind of stuff fun? No. Is it a waste of time? From my perspective, it's not. So I'd much rather be doing a whole lot of things than buying prep food and making lists and calculating calories and all that kind of stuff. But again, a lot of it, once you have it with these shelf lives, it's set it and forget it. You don't have to rotate a lot of this stuff. Certainly with the canned goods and obviously more perishable stuff, you have to think about rotating it. So once you get into the 5 gallons, then we have stuff like this, where let me see if I can lift this up without throwing my back out. We get into what I would call the more traditional 5-gallon buckets. Now, this is something that I put together in January 13th of 2013. Long grain rice, 25 pounds sealed. So what I did was I got the Mylar bags, and you get the oxygen absorbers, and you basically fill your Mylar bags, weigh them, and you have to you put in an O2 absorber, and basically I have the ones also. Then we screw the top on the 5-gallon. Vegetable stew blend from Augusta is what we're using now. It's amazing, and we add beef or chicken. Great meal for now too. Oh, okay, Jesse, Shielded Prepper. Look at that comment, guys. He's using it. Good. I haven't opened that. I haven't tried that, but I do have a bunch of that. I'm glad to hear that you're using it. You're mixing it with some other stuff. That makes a lot of sense. Instant coffee, hot cocoa powder for sure. Charcoal barbecue. Yes, charcoal, guys. We'll get into cooking methods in another show. I'm a big believer in stockpiling charcoal briquettes. If you look at how much heat those things produce for just a few briquettes, it's a big pepper thing. And having those briquettes, again, we'll do another show if you guys want to on cooking methods. When you have sales on charcoal briquettes, it'd be smart to start picking those things up again. They last, I believe, forever. You can stockpile them in your garage, the bags, and all you have to have is obviously a way to get those suckers lit. It's a great source of cooking method, right? But I also, as a number one method for me, will be using propane barbecue because you can make the meats and do all that. But the charcoal stuff is excellent. And to use the charcoal, look into the volcano stove. Okay, the volcano stove. We'll do a show on that as well. It's a great way to implement the use of charcoal. Okay, very very efficient tool to have. So look at volcano stove again. I don't have any links or anything like that, but check it out. Okay, so we've covered, then I guess that would be my level 4. So perishable food, then we jump into canned goods, then we jump into number 10 cans, maybe mixing them back and forth a bit, and then also your last would be your big 5-gallon buckets, okay? And maybe you have a 5-gallon bucket you're feeding from during your number 10 can phase, maybe even your canned goods phase. If you are, fine. Pistol P, a bunch of matches, and a 6-pack of lighters. Yep, got to have lighters and matches. Yeah, the human waste. That's another show I can go through. I do have an approach that I can share the product with you. It's not a long term approach, but it is probably a 3 to 6 month approach, and I can share that one day on the channel as well with you guys. So, other than, and those are the categories. All right, now we talked about having some honey, molasses. Someone commented, guys, don't forget spices. Okay, you guys have got to have, something to spice the food. This stuff lasts a long time. These things at Costco, they last a long time. Yep, LG Kitten, 5 gallon bucket with cheap toilet seat. That works as well. Spices, okay, onion powder, things like this. Keep a couple drawers full of these things, of the spices. Not that expensive, and you're going to want that, because one thing that you want to have is whatever the food is you're using, you want it to make it taste as good as you possibly can, right? Okay, and so you got to throw in some spices, lipstick on a pig, whatever you want to call it. Hey, whatever, spice it up. You can make pretty crappy stuff taste okay if it's got enough spice, salt, pepper, whatever. So I got a bunch of spices, that I also keep around. Okay, chopped onion, mesquite seasoning, black pepper, steak seasoning, onion powder, Lowry's garlic salt, seasoned salt, ground coffee creamer. Coffee creamer goes bad. You gotta watch that one. Iodized salt. Okay, a taco seasoning, black pepper ground, spaghetti and pizza seasoning, cinnamon, Italian seasoning, minced garlic, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, basil. So those kind of things, give some thought to sticking those away as well. They last a long time, and you're going to want to have it to make some of this food that you're not going to be used to eating taste okay. Hard candy, right? Hard candy lasts forever. Got some sugar. If you have, in the family, right? It's a bit of a mood changer, a pick me up. I keep bunch of hard candy, around as well. Keep a box of that stuff kind of stacked away. So again, all in all, I keep this stuff by category in terms of levels that I would foresee me working through in the event of emergency. You're going to assess, and you're hopefully going to have a gauge on how long it is. Maybe you're wrong. If you start with that order, from my perspective, um, then, for example, using perishable foods, meats, things like that, working your way through. If the emergency lasts a lot longer than you anticipated or you thought, you're not going to find yourself, having, let's say, gone the wrong way with it. So again, everyone's going to have different approach. Depends on where you live, what your resources are. This stuff is not cheap. Even uh, yeah, hard candy, Jolly Ranchers or something. I think so too. It lasts forever. You throw it, throw. I've got a box of it. It's been in the closet for a long time, and it's just not expensive to buy. But again, this stuff, speaking of expense, does add up, right? And everyone's challenged on resources right now. To have the extra money going out to buying stuff that you're not using on a daily basis, it creates a psychological challenge for sure. Okay, because it's still, income that is probably being used to pay for the car insurance has gone up, 2 3 fold, the house insurance, all that kind of stuff, right? And so I know it's difficult, but if you haven't done some of this stuff, please cover cooking and water, lava rocks, ideas, helpful stuff. Thank you. Yeah, we'll talk about the cooking. There's some good methods to cook. Like I said, charcoal, using propane, using solar cooking, things like that. We'll go through it. I'll bring out some of the stuff that I have, and we can do it on another show. But I think that's kind of where I wanted to be with you guys today. Going almost an hour here, 120 people in the room, so I do appreciate you. A good point. Hard candy will be a great item to trade with smokes and vodka. Yeah, I mean, you guys can weigh in on that in terms of, the alcohol thing, obviously, and the cigarettes. Now we start getting away from emergency food in terms of survival and getting into borrowability items. Okay, and there will be, of course, something like that you want to consider. But all this kind of stuff is probably going to be barterable, but you're not going to barter away things that are going to obviously keep your family alive. Obviously, bourbon and cigarettes and things like that. is going to be something you would use as a form of currency as opposed to necessity. So I hope you guys. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't see all the comments. I even tried to slow down the comments so I could get to all of them. And so I'm sure some of them are Andrew H. Thanks, Matt. I'm sure some of them are good, and some of them might be beating up on me or being critical. I don't know. But again, everyone's gonna have a different situation. Okay, so if you watch Patera's channel, and some of these channels on YouTube, they have homesteads, they have working farms and ranches, right? And they have meat, and they have chickens, and they have all these things, unlimited supply of fresh eggs and gardens. So all these kind of things, you know, are um, are great if you could have those for sure. If you have renewable things like that for sustainability, that is goal number one. If you're a situation like me, for example, where you don't have that ability at your present condition, and first aid, yeah, we didn't get into medical first aid, all that kind of stuff. It's a whole other topic, a rabbit hole. We can go down that one as well. And we will. It just takes time and shows and all that stuff. Mama Deb loved Patera. Yeah, she's great. But again, I look at the stuff she has that she's worked on and built, that she shares on the show. It's amazing. It makes me think, wow, I don't really, I am way far behind. Then you have to kind of get a reality check and say, well, it's not really being behind. Everyone has just a different circumstance. So again, from my perspective, I want to have a year of a year for family, the immediate family, obviously, and like Sheila Pepper said, if you can do it for some other ones, for some other loved ones, and maybe some friends, great, that have some extras, right? But again, city preppers versus country preppers, do what you can. I think that's a great point. Repent and believe is just everyone's got to do what they can within their means. With the budget they have and their circumstances, so just do something. And again, going back to Patera, because I just heard her say you can just get a few cans a week and add them to your pantry. Yeah, great. Just do something. Again, I'm into this thing about 12 years now. Rotation obviously has happened, but that's a commitment, not only in terms of time, but also of money. And so, Gail, there's the reason I follow you on YouTube. Both are great channels. Thanks, Gail. I appreciate that very much. I hope you guys saw some value in this. And again, not to be too repetitive, but there's not one size doesn't fit all. Everyone has different circumstances, different budgets, different surroundings and abilities. So appreciate all of you. I'll leave it at an hour today. 115 people in the room, so each and every one of you is important to me in the channel. Let's keep getting the word out. I don't want it to be just about economics and doom and gloom, but this is forward thinking stuff. And again, from my perspective, let's say the shelf life expires, and God willing, nothing happens. There's no emergencies. There's no grid downs. There's no earthquakes. There's no hurricanes. No tornadoes. Nothing. Right? We have no geopolitical strife, or let's say anything bad happening. Let's say in your immediate area or neighborhood. Okay, fine. Then if you don't use the stuff, so what? Or maybe you use it a little bit into your, work it into your routine, or let's say you donate it to Mama Deb, thank you for watching. Let's say you donate it or give it to people in need. When things start getting really bad, maybe you do make some donations. You've got something to help some other people as well. So all that stuff comes into play. So I don't look at it as wasted energy or wasted money or wasted, yeah, I mean, NC-71, all canned food have artificial preservatives. I mean, I'm assuming you mean, and I like to avoid it. Look, I don't eat this stuff, guys. I do not eat Chef Boyardee mini raviolis. Would I? Yeah. If I'm hungry and the stores are closed down and the pantry is now empty and there's no more ribeyes in my freezer, guess what? It's better than having nothing. Okay, or having to go beg a neighbor or go out on the streets to try to find food for your family. So again, not beating up on NC-71, just saying, I can use the silver coins I bought. You got to be careful with that mentality. And you guys know I'm a big proponent of stacking metals, and I love silver. But the idea that someone's going to take your silver coin and give you their last loaf of bread, or give you their last few cans of food, or let you dig into their 5-gallon buckets of food, if they don't know and you don't know how long the emergency is going to last, I think that's wishful thinking. Okay. Now, farmers, a different story. Farmers that have renewable resources, absolutely. I think if you guys are farmers, weigh in. I think that that farmers, if they have renewable sources of food, they will do that. They will barter metals for food and for eggs, things of that nature. But family, JB just posted a new video. LOL, look at the thumbnail. But again, if you have renewable sources, great. If you don't, I would not be willing to trade any amount of my important food supplies for silver or gold, right? Because if I believe the emergency is going to be extended or last for a period of time, you just would not make that trade if you're prudent, right? So anyway, keep that all in mind. Appreciate you guys again. Let's keep sharing the videos, and 124 thumbs up. Appreciate that. So let's see what unfolds this week. I'll maybe get a show up tomorrow. We'll see what happens with the news cycle. A lot going on with, let's say, conflicts abroad. In terms of domestically, we know what's going on. We know that the jobs continue to be cut across this country. And no matter what the cheerleaders say, and no matter what no matter what the talking heads say, it's the let's say the working class people in this country, not the wealthy stock market people or the super wealthy crypto people or whatever it is. They're not the ones as much that are suffering. Okay, and so we've got to keep that in mind. Everyone do what they can every day. Get your workouts in, get your steps in this weekend. Don't neglect the diet. If you're not having to eat this kind of stuff, guys, on a daily basis, not as a nutritionist or an expert, but I would suggest that maybe you don't do that if you don't have to, right? Fresh food, vegetables, high quality proteins, things like that. Again, not lecturing anybody, not a nutritionist, dietitian, any of that stuff. Just agree with that in terms of what we're doing when everything is fine, right? And the sun's out and there's no strife around, there's no emergency. But when those things change, they can change very, very quickly, as we know. JJ, I love your videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. Those kind of things. This kind of stuff, even though it might not be the highest quality, might not be the best tasting, it will keep you alive. Okay, and at the end of the day, that's what you're going to need to be thinking about. We're all going to need to be thinking about for ourselves and our family. So with that being said, I'll end the stream. 115 people in the room. And if I don't get a show up tomorrow, I might, but if I don't, it's quiet on the news, then I'll leave it be until next week, and let's see what happens. I'm glad you guys found the information helpful. Again, some of it's probably redundant to what you're doing. A lot of you, it's probably very, very rudimentary and very amateurish in terms of if you guys have farms and sustainable resources, which look, I'm definitely envious of that for those that do, because my mind always goes to hey, is this enough to get the family over the hurdle when probably not if, but when something does happen. So again, just being cautious. I hope everyone is thinking the same way. Probably you are if you're here on this channel watching. Pistol Pete got the steps in today. Great. And stock up on non-food household items. Yeah, we can cover that. There's a whole lot of stuff. This is just meant to address emergency food, supplies, usage, storage, kind of how I break it down by calorie, by day, by numbers in the household, things of that nature. Thanks. I enjoyed your stream, Diane Lynn. Thank you. Steve Hall, very small farmer here. I'll trade first for silver or ammo. Absolutely. If you're a farmer, small or not, and you have renewable source of whatever it is you farm for your family, you can still help others, you're going to take those assets, and those you guys are when things happen, you guys will be in a position to not only provide for your family for nutrition and for caloric needs and food, but you'll also be stockpiling ammo and gold and silver, I would imagine. So thanks all. I will see each and every one of you here, if not tomorrow, early part of the week. All right. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. God bless. Bye.